Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Hour here on OpenShift TV. I am Chris Short, Principal Technical Marketing Manager and Executive Producer of this thing we call OpenShift TV. I'm joined by the illustrious Langdon White. Good morning, Langdon. How are you, sir?
Good, good. As you can see from the reflection of my glasses, as we were just discussing, I bent my normal glasses, and so I am wearing
The
different
worst.
ones.
Yeah.
And I just look like a blinding light every time I look up at the screen, which kind of.
Well,
Uh,
if you haven't watched the channel recently, you can tell that I have changed locations within my
that's
house.
true. That's true.
I am out of the unfinished basement, aka dungeon, and in our guest bedroom, while the basement is actually going to be finished slowly but surely over the winter and spring months. So yeah, we're making moves here in the Short household, as it were.
Yes. Although I will say I missed the flags. So you need to.
So I talked to my wife about that, and I was like, I kind of don't want to put the flags up in the guest room because I feel like I could do something better. And she was like, "Oh, thank God! It looks like a college dorm room down there with all the flags hanging
Yeah, I'll give her that. I'll give her that.
up."
Um,
It's like, okay,
the,
fine,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. But the plain wall is still kind of boring. So you definitely
So
definitely
yeah,
need to
no,
think
I've
ahead.
got something coming. I think it's supposed to be here today or tomorrow.
Oh, that's exciting.
But
I
yeah,
think you
like,
should definitely do a Twitch stream of you hanging whatever it is, and then you can
oh,
ask the audience for adjustment requests.
oh,
You know,
hell no.
your your art or things that you're hanging on the wall will end up being Bodie McBoatface
Yeah, exactly. No,
level of
there is one three-piece, but like it is one piece of art, but it is in three pieces, like three different panels
oh yeah.
that I'll be hanging up behind me, and it will remind you where I am, just like the flags did. And I'll leave it at that. You'll see it when it gets installed, which might not be
Nice.
till you know Thursday evening or something.
I will say I like Christian's soccer
Mm-hmm.
whatever we call those scarves
Yeah.
in the background.
If you tune into the Get Offs happy hour at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, you will see his pretty cool soccer setup.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, no, that's he
I
did his
actually,
office right.
speaking of which, I need to follow up on the DevConf swag this year is
Oh,
a DevConf scarf, like a like a
yeah, no,
Supreme
that's
scarf.
awesome. Yeah.
Um, because we could go kind of non-gender specific, right? So it's one
Mm-hmm.
less piece of information we have to collect from everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and they're relatively small and easy to ship, and it's something that you could wear like on camera.
Yeah.
So as it gets colder, right? So
Right.
we thought it'd be fun. So hopefully they came out well, but we still haven't gotten them because our logistics team it got
Elect.
superseded by some real corporate thing. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
know how
always
that
fun.
is.
Um,
So should we get to the slides and
yeah, let's
say
pop
what
up the
we're doing here?
slides and yeah, let's get this party
Um,
started. Oh my gosh, it's going off.
what's
Alexa
that?
off.
I still see streaming.
No. The dingus is going off behind
Oh,
me.
gotcha. I
Sorry.
can't hear it. So
Oh, well, that's encouraging.
yeah.
That's just yapping at me. So I
Oh,
don't know what
gotcha.
it could be telling me
Uh,
the history of Venus or something. I don't know.
All right. So, for anyone who is not sure where they are, this is the Level Up Hour, where we talk about why containers are cool and why you might want to use them. And let's see.
Not just cool, but like actually useful in
Yeah. Right.
many
Right.
ways
Right.
you wouldn't think
Right.
because you might
That's
not be
kind of
familiar with them. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And why since I don't know, some ridiculous amount of time ago. I've been basically using them exclusively for almost everything I do. I kind of make containers, sometimes to my detriment, where I have it in my head. This should be a container because it should be a container, and then I'm like, oh my god, this is impossible.
Was it you or Christian yesterday in our work Slack that dropped the container file that was like just like ooh some bash script kiddie might have written that.
That in fact, I believe, is what we are talking about today.
Oh,
That
beautiful,
that in
awesome.
fact that container. And Christian may actually be here, but it is very early for him. So
Hmm.
um,
I don't see him in the chat or
Okay.
whatever. But
All right.
hello, all. I see you out there in Twitter or
Yes.
Twitch land. Yeah,
In Twitchland.
yeah.
All right, so you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Langdon with one, and Chris is at Chris Short. And we were missing Chris last week, but we were served well by Eric Jacobs, which conveniently enough, we just turned into an interview of Eric about AI and ML on OpenShift, which was
Beautiful.
so you can also find us on Discord, where we're usually pretty responsive. And happy Wednesday to JP Dade and all of you as well.
Yes.
Anyone where it's still Wednesday. Actually, I don't know where the cutoff is when we hit
I
the
think it's 10 or it might
10.
be 9 now. I forget.
Okay, with the time change or with
But I know when I so to give you an idea of my morning routine, the first thing I do in the morning at 7 a.m. is I send out the like schedule email to the day internally at Red Hat. And I know at that time it's the day all around the world. So I can actually say like happy Wednesday to everybody, right? Like
right.
So like at 7 a.m. I know it's the same day all around the world.
That's interesting. So yeah, so find us on Discord. And then, so what we're going to talk about today is what I'm kind of referring to as resilient UBI. And so when I say resilient, I don't mean it kind of technically traditionally, but basically, one of the things about UBI, right, is that if you are on a registered RHEL box, you kind of have a different package set available than if you're not. And so if you want to make a container file that will work kind of for anybody, so UBI isn't really intended, in a sense, right, isn't really intended for kind of distributing container files, although we obviously encourage that because we are, open source and all that jazz. But really it's intended for distributing images. So in other words, I would build whatever container I'm making based on UBI, and then I would ship that image so that other people can run that image in their, production or enterprise or whatever environment. So the thing is, if you want the container file to be usable on any platform, you got to do some things to make it so that that content is available, even if it's not Red Hat content. So that you can kind of say, okay, you can build this on a non-RHEL registered machine, but you will end up with an unsupported container, but you'll still end up with a container. So that's kind of what is important, or at least I think it's important. So that's what we kind of want to talk about today. But as always, show notes from last time, and just by way of apology, the show notes from the time before are also in the repo now, even though they weren't ready in time for the show last time.
That happens.
But both of them are there now. Please feel free to comment or whatever on the repo if you think there's anything missing or I glossed over something that I shouldn't have. This particular episode, I actually put in, there's a lot more further reading in a sense than I normally did, primarily because of kind of the topic area, right? We were talking about AI and ML, which we kind of glossed over a lot of what that is in a sense.
I'm glad you did that though, because like it's dawned on me that I need to learn a little bit more about AI and ML. So
Yeah. Well, I have a particular bias because I did a lot of AI work, like grant funded work in college, and then I actually went and worked at a R&D center, and worked on AI there as well, sort of. But what was I going to say? Oh, so. So interestingly enough, because we did have like a good engaging discussion in the show last time, I have teed up somebody to come and talk some more about kind of machine learning and specifically the problem, like, or what's interesting about containers, right, is one of the things we like about containers or images, right, is that you have something that's very replicable, right? So it worked on my machine isn't really a thing. Because you can say, here's literally what worked on my machine. Now you can run it and it'll work on your machine. In science of any kind, really, but in data science in particular, shipping what got you there is a great way for other scientists to do peer review. right?
Right.
To make sure that your content is
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
So Matt Mycini, who is also known as Cleverbeard, and is a Red Hat technical product manager.
Everything.
Something. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew Matt
So,
way before I joined Red Hat, right? Like just from like the conference circuit and being in Raleigh and everything, right? Like, yeah. So it's going to be fun to have him on the show. So yeah,
yeah.
can't wait. I
So I'm
haven't
looking
seen him
forward
in
to it.
forever because of this, obviously.
Right. So we so yeah, so we chatted yesterday, and hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show, not next time, but the one after. And then next time we're going to talk a little bit more about Nextcloud. But this time I will have abstracts out pretty soon, so that should be exciting. And will we be on other channels by next episode?
So your next episode, yes, special announcement. There will be some shows that will be crossing the chasm, as it were, over to the official Red Hat YouTube channel, which is a super big deal for us here on OpenShift TV, right? Because we started this within the cloud platforms business unit, and um, our corporate friends realized that like this is a good idea, and the team lead for that team is actually someone I went to high school with, Anna Stark. So it's pretty funny that like we're working together now, right? Like we worked at Red Hat, and like when I joined Red Hat, I bumped into her of all things during my orientation, right? Like, oh, you work here? It's like, oh, that's cool. But anyway, so we will have the Level Up Hour on the 58,000 subscriber Red Hat YouTube the next go round. So they are super excited. I'm super excited. And tomorrow, the In the Clouds with Red Hat Leadership with Ashesh Bandani, Senior Vice President of Cloud Platforms here at Red Hat, that show will also be on the main Red Hat YouTube channel. So we're super excited about it, right? Because it shows that what we're doing here is engaging, is working, and needs more eyeballs, right? For lack of a better term. So yeah, it's like we're growing up, and you're our lucky guinea pig. Awesome
Early
person,
adopters.
early adopter. Yeah.
So does that mean you're coming full circle with having Ashesh on for the first Red Hat channel show? Because he's the head of cloud platforms. We started in cloud,
that is interesting, kind of, but like, so yes, but we're having a very, very special guest on the 17th for that In the Clouds with Red Hat Leadership. Matt Hicks will be joining us. He's the executive vice president of product and technology. So it just made sense, right? Like, if we were going to do this, let's do it now, right? With cloud platforms and then Matt Hicks, because we already had the two booked, right?
Right.
So let's just go ahead and make the move. And that's awesome. Yeah.
Joe Fuzz calls it what it is. We got syndicated.
Yeah, pretty much, and like that's how we've been describing it to people when we talk about it, right? Like it's just syndication at that point when we stream to all these different, channels, right? From Facebook to Periscope to YouTube and Twitch. Does that make us all TUH? Yes, you will all be officially the Level Up Hour hipsters because you were here before anybody else.
Right, exactly. And if you didn't know, you are already all that in a bag of chips. This is just proof. So yeah. All right, we should probably, I don't know, talk about some stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about some tech. That'd be great.
Yeah, we were joking around last time actually about how it took us so long to actually get to any tech stuff. So what was I looking for? Okay, so I was hoping that I was going to use VS Code for the show today.
Fancy.
Because I think it's a little more legible, but you all, I just realized I want to switch the view so that it is easier to read, hopefully. And now I have to find the share screen button.
That's weird.
All right. So let me know if you, I have to actually finish sharing. Let me know if you can't actually read that.
That's very legible. What font is that? Cool. That's a good font.
Yeah, actually, I don't know, but I am curious. It is a good font. It might be source code sans, which is kind of my preferred one. It's open source font. I want to say done by Red Hat or maybe Fedora, or maybe GNOME, but I'm pretty sure it's an open source font and I like it. I also love VS Code. I particularly, if you haven't checked it out and you're kind of on the more advanced front on the container world, check out the remote containers stuff, which is pretty amazing. Not open source, although there does seems to be talking about them using it. Oh, is it a Google?
Well, you can
Oh no, it's
download
just hosted.
all open source fonts are available
Right
through Google. And there's like this weird loop happening between ReStreamBot and YouTube right now.
Sweet. We get all the chats.
Might
all
have
right.
to do something there. Anyways, let's go ahead.
So okay, so what I did was let me start with a little bit more context. All right, so here I'm going to throw it in the chat. Here is the repo that I'm working from, which is actually a fork of Christian Hernandez's repo on his helper node. Helper node is like one of the most popular streams you've ever done. Amazing.
Yeah, so we actually have our own. It has its own shortcode.
There you go. Yeah, so helper node is this thing that helps you with OpenShift, and he's been working on, I think, maybe kind of an improvement, right? Because going by the helper node dev 2, right? So, but he was asking me some questions about how to do the UBI to basically, the problem here is this DHCP server.
So that's what Christian was asking about yesterday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So DHCP server is not available in the UBI default repo.
Which makes
sense.
It is,
however, available in the RHEL or in the Red Hat or the RHEL repos, right? So when I looked at this, so there's some things that I thought this would be useful to do, because we could kind of talk about, we're getting along on how we've done containers, right? So I kind of wanted to say, okay, let's take a container file that's kind of in the wild and look at, is it well done, or can we do some improvements to it? And so I think there are some improvements we could do for it. However, one of the major ones I wanted to do is not as much of a problem as I expected. So we'll get into that in a second. Actually, you know what I should have done? Sorry, let me share the screen differently. Let me not do it where you will see the video of all of us, because that just looks weird.
Oh, but it's a fun Inception moment.
Yeah, exactly. And let me see if I can find a terminal window, which I thought I had opened in advance. But I had not. All right, so terminal window. And what I wanted to show first and foremost. Okay, so I built this container. So we look at Podman images, and let me stretch that out a little bit so it's a little more legible. And we can say, let's kind of jump into the container. Okay, so first and foremost, this is a registered, sorry, I lost the Twitch stream. There it is. Okay, so this is a registered RHEL machine. I can't figure out when Subscription Manager will get type ahead and when it won't. Sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. Or not type ahead, tab completion.
Auto completion. Yeah.
Maybe if sudo has been launched recently, I don't know. All right, so just checking, it is actually registered, so that's good. One of these days, maybe we should talk about what system purpose is, because I had a hand in that occurring. So Podman RM, how about run? Then IT, then entry point. And so if we haven't talked about it on the show, which we may not have, if there's an entry point on the container you're trying to run, the only way to bypass it is by passing this entry point flag. If you put bin bash at the end of your run command, it won't work. It'll just get ignored and entry point will be there. So this one actually has an entry point. I do it if for any container image that I didn't directly create and know inside and out. And yeah, so JP Dade, I think sub tab works if you're root, but sometimes it works. I wonder if I've done sudo and I'm still in the time window when sudo is still not requiring a password, it also works. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. So going back to entry point, so whenever I'm using a container that I don't know well, I always clarify or specify the entry point to just make sure I end up doing what I want to be doing. Then we'll do helper node, and that should be it. All right, and so what I found, this was something actually I didn't realize, but if you do yum list DHCP and with some stars, weirdly, if you notice here, so DHCP server is in fact coming from the RHEL repo, which, sorry, excuse me for.
Oh, you're fine. Everybody sneezes and everybody coughs.
Yeah, right.
It's a matter of. It's like I tell my son, everybody poops.
Yes, there's even a book.
I know. I've read the book. It's amazing.
Yeah. So DHCP server came from the RHEL repo, and what I found very confusing about that. So just to make this a little more understandable. Oh no, I guess it is broken correctly. So, if you notice this enable repo CentOS base OS, the repo file, which is this one here, which is fine. That's weird. I wonder why this is showing as all misspelled. Is fine.
You've got an aggressive extension.
Yeah, exactly. So what I didn't really understand is like, why is this DHCP server coming from RHEL, right?
Because, you didn't understand how?
Right, because you're enabling the CentOS repo.
Right.
There's no priority in this repo file.
Yeah.
And if you look at, and if you notice, the reason I'm not showing you both in the terminal is because if you see in the container file, it actually dumps the repo file at the end. So it's not actually in the image. But so if you look at the Red Hat repo, no less, there's also no priority here. So I was like, what? So this makes me nervous because if I don't know how it works, I like containers because they're replicable, that makes me unhappy. So
okay, so let's clearly state the problem. Right.
So to clearly state the problem basically is that I have two repo files that theoretically, because I'm not disabling the RHEL repos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing what I want, mind you, or doing what Christian wants in theory, that it's getting DHCP server, but we have two different repo files that aren't giving any sort of indication of which one will be used. And so I assume it's not actually random, that there is some mechanism of priority here, but I don't know what that
didn't
method
you say
is.
one had it and one didn't?
No, they both don't have
they both have it. They both don't have it?
Okay. So see, there's no priority in here.
That's
and
weird.
There's no priority in here.
No, I meant the package. I know there's no priority, but does the package exist in both repos?
Yes, the package exists in both repos.
So that's very weird.
If you are on a RHEL registered box.
Yeah. So yes, this is a bad problem, but I don't know, like this is one of those like RPM tree trace like things that you have to like down to the rabbit hole you go kind of deals.
So I don't want to figure that out. What I want to do is I want to put in priorities.
Yes.
And say, if the RHEL one is available, then use the RHEL one. If it's not available, because I'm not on a registered RHEL box, use the CentOS one. And so we can do that with priorities. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, that's why.
Box?
No, I am. I just I was actually looking at the wrong block to show my point. It just happened to have a very similar name. So but I can
NLHACM points out, I'm sorry, I forget your real name. You told us, I forget. Both repos have enabled 0, if I saw correctly.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was just noticing, which that's
Mhm.
because I was looking actually at the wrong repo. So where is it? That's AppStream. Where is base OS?
Should do a
This is the problem with
find.
no less. Stupid minimal containers.
Don't you have find in your terminal?
I do. I thought I'd be able to find it faster, honestly.
I've given up, and I've realized that the world just has to be searched.
Yeah. You and Google agree.
Yeah.
All right, that's source. That's, I don't know what that is. What's E4S?
E4.
Okay, here we go. So this is the real one we would be pulling from. It is enabled. It has GPG check. The reason the CentOS repo is still being used, even though it's enabled equals 0 here, is because in the container file you're explicitly enabling the repo before in the install statement. So they are both enabled. At that line.
1,001 ways to do things with computers. The same.
Exactly.
The same thing with a computer. Yeah.
So so as I said, like, I didn't expect this to actually work. That's why I kind of got into this in the first place. And then I realized it did. Now I don't know how it does it. So that makes me stressy. So I don't like that idea. So what I want to do also was that.
Well, JP Day did mention something in chat. Not to interrupt you, but I am, because this is kind of relevant. You have the RHEL repo loaded by default on your server that you are running your container, building your container to. So that is loaded first. Then you tell it to about the CentOS repo. So that is loaded second. Is that the reason why?
So that seems logical. Or it could also be that, on a Red Hat box, the RHEL repos take priority. What I'm worried about, though, is I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And on top of that, I don't know if because I think this is at RHEL 8.3, I don't know if in RHEL 8.4 it changes. So IQ and Joke asks about no subscriptions needed for DNF install. So DNF and Yum on RHEL 8 Plus are the same. Essentially, it's Yum is just 3 letters that actually call DNF. UBI is a particular container image that has a special set of repos that Red Hat has made available in public with no subscription required. But it's not a complete set of the RHEL content. So, for example, DHCP server apparently is not there. Most of the databases are not there, but Apache is there and PHP is there, for example. So you need a subscription to access some of the RHEL content on UBI sometimes. And the way we get it, as I've talked about before and talked about a little bit today, is if you're on a registered RHEL box and you try to build that image, it will find the RHEL repos. I don't know exactly how it works, but it does work and it's interesting. So, long story short, the first instinct.
Yeah, like the first instinct is to just prioritize them, right?
Right. So what I looked up prior to the show was what is the default priority, which is 99, which I thought was very odd. I was like, why not around 100?
Maybe that's the max.
Yeah. So lower is more important. So if we make this priority 150, it'll prioritize the RHEL repo over the CentOS repo always. And so that should take care of the problem via priorities. And let's see. And then we should just be kind of done. The thing is, though, what I also wasn't in love with is that this is kind of where it gets a little bit arguable. But let's say, and theoretically this is never going to happen, but let's say the mirror or whatever, this link changes, right? Or something about the repo file changes. This concerned me, so I kind of would prefer to actually install the repo file from its source. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on this.
I mean, I don't like replicating things that the OS manages, right? Like I don't like breaking defaults in general. So I tend to leave, I don't know, like if you want to package the entire container up, then yes, you should. If you know that you are declaratively changing things inside these configuration files, yes, they should be in the container. But I don't like to steer too far away from system defaults either. So, like I would be of the mind to say, okay, your workaround is to prioritize. I would actually go spelunking and figure out how it actually worked. So you would take 5 seconds where I would take maybe a day.
Well, so the thing is, I might do that if I was confident that that was part of the public API of DNF, right, or Yum, and that it won't change. That's my bigger concern, because I mean, to Christian's point in the chat, it works right now. What difference does it make, right?
Right.
So, and so there's some value to trying to figure it out completely. However, this is actually one of the reasons why the letters YUM still exist in RHEL, is because the vast majority, or the vast number of people who've written scripts that wrap Yum, they consume its output, they consume, they change its input, et cetera, and so there's a de facto API on Yum that nobody ever promised, but people rely on very, very heavily. So, so I don't know whether DNF has declared somewhere along the way exactly the way the priorities work. And even if I figure out how it works, I mean, it's open source, right? I could go and look at the code. There is no guarantee that that code won't change because it's not part of the API. Does that make sense? And why I wouldn't?
Right. No, it makes sense. JP Date is asking a question. I'm trying to figure out his answer.
Yes. So if you build it on a registered box with packages that require licenses and then ship it, it is still kosher with RH. I believe that you end up with a supported image that you can then, whatever you call it, redistribute. But I think the part where I'm not 100% clear is I don't know what our redistribution rules are. Like, I assume that if you want to redistribute something, you have to be a Red Hat partner, and that redistributed thing has to be have a checkbox that says this is partner approved. Or whatever the term is. There's a certification process. And I know we do this with container images. I just don't know all the details. So that would be something actually we could ask Mycene maybe when he's on, or one of the other RHEL folk.
Well, I know a RHEL folk that I can reach out to real quick. Hang on.
Yeah, as long as it runs on a RHEL server, right?
As long as it's on a RHEL box, you're fine. It's like if you're on a CentOS box, then I think that's where it gets gray.
Right. I don't know, because, well, so if the image platform is an approved platform, it should just work. I guess where I would get shaky is like, or it's probably, or I assume it's actually supported. But if you're running a UBI-8 container with a bunch of stuff installed, running that on a RHEL 7, that should also be supported, I believe, because that's kind of part of the intent.
Yeah.
But so that would be something we can, I can follow up with that offline and maybe bring it back to the next show. And or on
JP
Fedora.
Date, is that something you need answered before next week's show? Let me know. Just reach out. I've asked my RHEL resource. We'll see what he says.
Exactly.
We might get an answer during the show. We'll see.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So going back to the thing, we don't run it on Ubuntu boxes.
What's that?
Yeah. I used to use Ubuntu all the time.
No, I do. They're behind me by force, I guess.
Right. So to kind of go further back on the kind of my earlier point of like, I don't really like carrying the actual repo file here, so I'd rather get the actual RPM. And so in order to do that, podman run it, let's do an rm CentOS. Surprisingly, CentOS, their default, their latest tag. So if you just say bear like this, when you do a pull, you get the equivalent of, not that, this. So you're actually defaulting to the latest tag. Their latest tag is not currently 8. I'm not sure if that's an oversight or just the current status. Oh shoot, I thought I already pulled this. Oh, and that's interesting. I'm getting the Docker one versus the CentOS one because I'm running this on RHEL versus running it on Fedora. So by default, Fedora containers have multiple registries configured. One of them is the Fedora registry, another one is the CentOS registry, and another one is the Red Hat registry. And I think Docker is there too, but I think the priority is Docker is towards the end, and CentOS is in there, but I don't think the RHEL one is there. I don't think on RHEL it has it at all. Sorry, I see there's a question.
Yeah, would it make sense to use a Fedora image for this use case? Yeah, it could like shortcut a few things for us.
Oh, sure. The thing is, it wouldn't be supported.
Right. Like we're
So
trying to
if your
build a Red
goal is
Hat
to try to make a
supported image. Right?
component, or a supported container image most of the time. Because right now the container image that I just ran, that is a fully supported container image. I don't think Christian added anything else weird to it, because it does not actually use the DHCP server from CentOS, right? It pulled it from RHEL, as we verified with DNF list. So we can change the order of preference by using priorities. The thing is, and we did that a little bit here by just adding this priority flag. The thing is, I was going to investigate, can we use the real CentOS repo from CentOS rather than having a hard-coded file on disk that we're using in our container image? And so in order to figure that out, we would say, well, here we'll use yum. And I think people don't realize that you can do yum provides on any file. It doesn't have to be a binary. So we can say, yum provides this repo file. And we see that it's in this CentOS repos 8.2 RPM. So what we can do instead of this part is we can say run RPM install. Actually, we don't want to do RPM. We want to do yum install -y. But now we need, oops, what I forgot was we need the path to it. So which would be so the thing is, though, part of what I wanted to talk about in this show was I'm not sure how we should go about getting the version information that we need. Let me do this.
Yeah, because you potentially would not want to use a certain version of bind.
Well, we need to make
You'd
it
want to
match
use, yeah,
the UBI-8 that we have here, right?
Right.
So I had an approach to doing this.
Okay, JP Dade, to answer your question, Scott McBrien has chimed in.
Oh,
It says if you pull in a non-UBI package, then it may not be redistributable. There's a gray area. We're actively working on it and trying to make it much easier, more inclusive, and less gray. So it is gray right now and fuzzy, but we will make it better. and it is actively being worked on. So like I said, it was a great question to ask because it's a problem area for us. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was taking that opportunity to look for the file I wanted.
You mean keep talking? I can talk all day, you know.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. I'm of course looking at the CentOS 7. What? There we go. Packages.
Curious if you heard my dog bark just now. Because
I
if you didn't, that's amazing. Okay. Wow. Walls are awesome.
Right. So, we can use this link, which is a hard link to the file we want, and use the RPM directly. The thing is, we have to keep it up to date, but I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm on the fence of whether you want to have the repo file locally or you want to use the remote one. The thing about using the remote one is that we won't have to do this change mod here, which part of the reason I don't want to do that change mod is because I believe that will break caching. So in other words, because excuse me, because this isn't a full install, it won't cache. So my inclination is to do it that way, and then we can totally garbage priority equals 150 to oh my goodness, I can't type. Repos.d. I think that's what it's called. Oh yeah. So we add the priority onto the end to make it lower priority, even though it's a higher number. Then we can get rid of this statement altogether. And this, we can leave the enabling set up correctly or the same way. And we could also combine these statements. So we get more caching. And then I also believe that this pip install will also not cache. I'm not 100% sure of that. I didn't try it for sure. But because in a pip install, there's usually compilation, I'm not sure if it'll cache. So, the caching stuff is, always a little dicey. So I tend to err on the side of safety in my mind. And then I'm kind of on the fence of whether we remove the CentOS repo. The reason that I don't want to remove that is because if I do, this is where, if you ever do a yum update in the container, which is generally bad form, but sometimes necessary, you won't get any updates to that particular, anything that came from that repo, right? So I thought we'd play with that and see if that worked. But we have to, let's see, do I have Emacs? No. Let's just do VI container. Oh, how about I be in the right place?
That helps.
And let's call it, I don't know, new. And then, oops. All right, so now we have to do a new build, unfortunately.
Bless you.
I was kind of curious if anybody heard that.
Sorry,
that was my
something.
wife from a different floor in a different room.
I had to say something. My bad.
No worries. Okay, so let's say DHCP new and -f and dot. And we'll see if this just works. Anything's possible. So JP Data asks, so if you push it to an instance on AWS, a RHEL instance on AWS,
fully
your
supported.
container image should be fully supported as
Mhm.
long as everything you installed in that image came from a RHEL repo. And the fact that you built it in your R&D lab is moot to the point.
Right. Like if you're R&D, if you're using supported RHEL instances, you'll be supported across the board, right? And RHEL packages and so forth, so on. RHEL image, RHEL packages, RHEL hosts, you're supported. The fuzzy area is when you take a fully supported image, right? Like you built it on a RHEL box with RHEL packages, and you then run that image someplace else on a non-RHEL system, aka what happened? What is the support structure there? That's the fuzzy gray area that we're trying to figure out.
Right. Exactly.
So what happened here?
Something
conflict?
dumb. I don't know why it happened exactly, but basically the GPG keys are separated in a different RPM.
Right.
And because I'm basically doing a bare RPM install,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't love that idea. So I think you can just put multiple commands on one line. Oh, actually, I should also do yum clean all.
Yes, that cleans the cache to reduce the size of the image.
Right, and actually I need it here too. Actually, yeah, right. And we'll just mix all our metaphors.
Mix and match. Why
not? Let's see. So that
well, wait.
should work.
Hang on. Go back in.
Yep.
Sorry, because you're installing Ansible with pip. Where did you put the clean? Okay, never mind. Sorry, you're good. Okay.
No worries. That's why we do the peer programming on the
yeah,
on
exactly.
The I think it's a gray area with an A, to be clear.
Oh well, I use the international version.
Is that what it is? Is that a different?
I think British
English
version? Yeah,
it's I thought it was UK totally interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it is. It's just UK
all those
versus
extra U's in
US.
English, I'm not okay with. So,
well, there's that. Anyways,
and I like my Z's as well, so I don't use the S's.
Oh yeah, how many Z's replace one S?
Oh well, if it's a good enough word, lots of them.
Okay, fair enough. These are the important questions.
So why did it fail to load that repo? That's a new and special error. Well, if it doesn't fail, we can go and look at the actual file once it loads up.
Failed loading. I wonder if it's.
I've never seen that error before.
Some parameter that's not
yeah.
right. I've seen it when that file is empty or missing before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I thought it usually failed.
I have accidentally touched that file without pasting anything in it, and
okay.
yeah, like that's how I found it, or got the error, I should say, not found it.
I wonder if my echo statement is messed up. Oh, you know what? Let's kill this real quick and do. We'll just comment this stuff out because this takes a long time to do its thing. And that way we don't have to spend the rest of our lives waiting for the build. We can put it back in once we know this stuff works. Much better. That's my kind of loading time. So let's see if, what I call it, DHCP new, and I took out the entry point. Okay, so let's just take a look at what landed in the CentOS repo. Oh, did I get the wrong file? I wonder if that's it. Let's do. Oh, that's not going to be useful.
You already have everything in GitHub for this episode or not?
I have not pushed it yet, but it will be there.
Okay.
No, sorry, I haven't. Yeah, it's not nice enough along. Oh, well, that's not entirely true, actually. So the stuff we're doing right now, we're doing live, but the repo that we're basing it on is this one.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and make sure. Oh, actually, sorry.
That's the fork. Yeah.
Well, the fork is okay. It's that it's a different branch. It's called. Or no, that is the branch. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
GitHub repos confuse me when they have whether the URL takes you to the branch or not.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it 67 times. Okay, so I did something dumb, which is that the name of the installed repo file is not baseos.repo. It is just base. So that's why we're getting that error, is because, see, we're just getting a priority 150 in a random file, not not actually in the repo itself. So we need it to be CentOS base, and so exit out of there, and let's just do container file new. And where's my line? Oh, here. So it's just base. Unfortunately, we have to build it again.
You got time.
You got time.
You got time. You'll be fine.
6 minutes.
No, you've got a little. We got overflow today.
Oh, actually, we could while we're waiting for that, we could do points.
Yeah. Let's point it up.
All right. So we have some points. And we're really getting up there in the numbers. And let me grab the handy link.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, Netherlands Hackem, I think is what we decided that means, is definitely getting up there, definitely pulling ahead. And if you want to get your own points, you can follow the link that's there and then put in that code yourself, or the second link is basically a deep link with the code already injected. But Noah Friction, Narendev, it's great to see you still here on a regular basis. Joe Fuzz, I saw you earlier. You gotta put those points in. You gotta maybe go back to some of the other episodes.
Yeah, go back in the archives.
Right. They are all on a YouTube playlist, if you are so inclined, even in order, no less. That's a great image. And I'm afraid, so what we're going to do next time, I almost did it in time for this time, but not quite, is I also want to highlight going forward the new people who have submitted for internet points. So they may have a lower number, but the fact that they just submitted some points recently. And I was going to do it today, but I was looking at it and the data seemed weird. So I didn't want to post it with it being
fair enough.
And I didn't have enough time to really dig out what was going on. So congratulations to everybody. So excited to see people are still collecting our sweet internet points. Keep in mind, Netherlands Hackem did a PR, and that's what pulled them ahead of everyone else.
Very nice.
So that's how you can improve your points. You can also join the Discord server and get some points. And get some points that way. You can file an issue, you can file a PR, you can go back to past episodes, and that's all there is to it. And it looks like our build is done.
It is,
which is always convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we didn't get any errors that time. Yes, so that looks better. So we got an actual signing key installed, and we didn't get an error about the priorities. Now I'm curious if, which version of the RPM we got. So we can say I'm really mixing and matching today. DNF list
But it just shows that like they're interchangeable, right? Like
I mean, they really are. They really are pointing to the same thing. It's just I try, like I think I've explained on the show before, but I try to use yum whenever on RHEL because I'm looking for bugs. And just in case there's something that doesn't work right. But I think it just points at the same thing. And I'm not sure I know like the yum, like
does
RHEL
yum
7
send
yum.
link to DNF or does DNF send link to yum? I'm joking.
Yum send, yeah, yum send links to DNF. But so as expected or as hoped, we're still getting the RHEL version of DHCP server. We're using the official repo file, which, like I said, arguable. Basically, pulling anything from the internet and putting it inside your container means that it has the potential of not being as replicable, right? But we will get updates if for some reason we do an update in here. So the last thing I kind of wanted to show was what happens if we unregister it? Does it still work? So hopefully this won't take too long. See, it still doesn't tab complete for me unless I want it to or don't want it to. I think it's just unregister, right? This is not a common command.
No, this is not a thing I normally do.
All right, so now it's unregistered. So in theory, I just want to make sure. Okay, cool. So I should still have all the repos, but I should not have access to them. So if I do, oh boy, if I do our build again, see, I was curious about that. So it still used the cache. So I'm still getting RHEL repos or RHEL
interesting,
right, packages because I'm still cached. So let's say Podman images. Oh, what did I call it? DHCP new. So I'm just going to kill the whole image.
Yeah, just clean it.
Theoretically, I could just kill the one line, but I don't think it's going to actually save us anything.
Subscription-manager space clean is what JP Date is saying.
Oh, would that, you think that, what will clean do? I don't even know.
I'm assuming it purges every bit of cache out there.
Should we, oh, but I don't really, well, okay, yeah, let's kill it all just to, in case. Still no tab completion. I guess my theory is incorrect. All right, so all local data removed. I'm curious what is in my repos. Oh, that's legacy of, let me actually get rid of that because it screws things up. Not without sudo. So that's just a legacy of how I created this VM. Okay, so I theoretically killed everything. I don't even have any repos. Yum update will go very quickly because there's no repos to look at. So let's try building it again.
Now you're making two changes. What's causing what?
So no, I didn't make any changes to the container itself or the container file itself. Right. All I changed was the host that's doing the building. So it's trying to build it, pulling DHCP server, and it's going to say, where can I get DHCP server from? Because I'm not registered, I should not get it from the RHEL repos, unless this whole theory is incorrect and Christian's assumption that the DHCP server is not in the public repo is completely wrong, and this whole exercise has been for naught. Actually, let's do run. All right, so now if we do yum list DHCP, we should see it from the CentOS repo and not from nowhere, which would be nice. Oh, well, that's clear as a bell. They're both called base OS. So I believe, let's just see. Oh, well, let's just do it this way. I think there's a verbose that would actually tell us, but and so if we look at base repo. Oh, I don't have less. Yeah, see, the name of this repo is base OS, so that not very useful, at base OS that means where it's coming from, right? So we're getting all of these DHCP files from CentOS now because the RHEL repo, it doesn't have it in the RHEL repo. And one of the other things I would point out is if you notice, so this is the Red Hat Universal Base Image 8 base OS versus when we were building before, we were using the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 base OS. And so you can kind of see, even in the output of the build, you'll see that you have switched repos. So Netherlands Hackham, did that answer your question?
We shall see. But I'm reading what JP said.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, getting the registrations to work. Yeah, so registration has been personally a plague of RHEL for a long time. It is significantly better now. It's pretty fast. You actually get command line completion as root now. You don't get it as non-root, but that's expected in a sense. Yeah, I mean, it's significantly better now. I think it's a lot less confusing as well. Because I mean, I normally, like, in non kind of production environments, right? I mean, I normally can just say subscription manager register -- auto attach, and it just works. And remember, actually, one thing I'd point out for anybody who's not a regular watcher of the show is if you need a RHEL subscription for any reason, you can get free ones using the developer subscription.
Yep.
Which, do you have a cool hash?
I don't think I do.
Okay. But go to developer.redhat.com, and it should be very obvious. It might be developers. It is.
It's developers,
I think
plural.
it redirects, but
yeah. Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
So what is the package difference between RHEL base OS and UBI base OS? I don't know off the top of my head. I do know it's documented. I'd have to like dig for it to know where it is exactly. But kind of my rule of thumb in the back of my mind is kind of anything related to not front end, but sort of front end web development. So programming languages, web servers, that kind of stuff, those are all in UBI. Anything that's kind of the back end side of it, things like DHCP server, database servers, that kind of stuff are not in it. And that's kind of the rule of thumb I use, so that I don't have to like have the entire diff memorized. Does that make sense, JP?
Yeah, let us know. Hackham says yes, you answered his question. If Scott McCarty was on, he could tell us right off the top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he does live and breathe it, right? So
right.
So that was pretty much what I wanted to show. I'm not sure. I think something I read somewhere says that the reason Christian is using the pip install of Ansible is because he's relying on some very current feature of Ansible that's not in the
RHEL version
of Ansible. So otherwise I would definitely remove that, because basically pip installs again are, you're pulling something from the internet that may have changed since you last touched it. Plus, like I said, they break caching a lot of the time because they recompile and all that jazz. Tend not to use them. Not that there's anything inherently bad for it per se, as much as it is a container image is something I want replicable, and I want it to be fast on rebuild. So otherwise, you can investigate the rest of the thing for yourself. I will talk over with Christian whether he wants something that's like a PR based on these changes. But this is closer to how I would have done the container image, and I thought it was a good exercise for the show to kind of see the difference in approaches and what the trade-offs are you're making when you're taking different approaches.
If you do PR it to Christian's repo, make sure he gives you points.
Yes, exactly. Maybe he should get points for being the impetus.
Yeah, being the show topic generator.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah. So like I said, I just thought it was a good exercise. I thought it was an interesting comparison of two different approaches to the same problem, as well as how to solve the problem of I have UBI and it will be used sometimes by people on RHEL registered machines and sometimes not.
Right.
And but that's, I think, our show, unless anybody had any more questions, but I don't see any more.
I don't see any either. I hope everybody got the link for the points. And coming up next on the channel at I'm on the wrong day. Let's get back to the right day here.
Well, if it's a
I've
future
done that
day,
before, and that's not
it'll
fun.
still be coming up next.
Yeah, coming up next on the channel at 11 a.m. Eastern is the OpenShift Administrator's Office Hours with Sully and I. And bring your OpenShift questions. We will bring answers. So
right.
We will hunt for them and give them to you if we don't know them off the top of our head.
Right.
But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. Stick around, subscribe to the calendar if you haven't yet. I will drop that link in chat here. It's just red.ht/streamcal. And, click the little plus sign on the bottom right of the calendar to add it to your own. That way you know when we're on the air and what we'll be talking about. And until next week, where we'll be on the Red Hat YouTube as well. We'll catch you then, and stay safe out there, folks.
But don't watch us there, because the cool kids use Twitch.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that.
Yeah,
or you could watch us everywhere and just pick which one you want to listen to and mute the others.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's why you have a lab, right? Is so that you can have them all open.
Yes.
All right. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you all.